So today we'll be discussing on how to identify where your infarct is or where you have a MI by looking at a normal ECG. So this is your normal layout of a ECG paper. You will have your V1, lead 1, lead 2, lead 3, and then you will have your AVR, AVL, AVF, then you have your lead placements. This is how it's given on the ECG paper. Okay, so now we have to understand what areas of the heart are these leads looking at. So just remember that your lead 2, lead 3 and AVF are looking at the inferior part of the heart. Okay, your posterior part of the heart is being looked at by the AVR lead, which is given here. Your lateral part of the heart is being looked at by your lead 1, AVL, and your V5 and V6. Set, and the remaining look at the anterior part. The remaining are these V1 to V4 leads. Okay, so just remember this. You have to frame this diagram. It's quite easy. So now let's put this into practice. Let's say you have a ECG paper and you see a ST elevation in your V2, your V3 and your V4. Okay, let's say your V2, V3, V4 have a ST elevation. Set. Now you have identified your ST elevation in your V2, V3, V4. Now you look at this diagram. Where does V2, V3 and V4 fall set? They fall here. Set. And these three leads look at the anterior aspect of your heart. So it's quite simple. ST elevation means a MI, a myocardial infarction. Since they're looking at the anterior aspect of the heart, you have a anterior myocardial infarction. Now let's say you have a ST elevation in your AVL. ST elevation is being shown on your AVL and your V2, V3 and V4. Let's say this is a new question, right? Question 2. You have a ST elevation on AVL, V2, V3, V4. Set. You have identified your ST elevation. ST elevations means a MI. Let's keep it that simple. ST elevation is a MI. So now you look at your AVL. Your AVL looks at your anterior aspect of lateral aspect of your heart, and your V2, V3, V4 look at the anterior aspect of the heart. So put the two terms together, that makes up your anterior lateral MI. So you have an anterior lateral MI. Let's say you have ST elevation in your showing in your AVR. Let's say you have a ST elevation showing in your AVR lead. So that is the posterior aspect of your heart. That looks at the posterior aspect of the heart. So you have a posterior MI. It is that simple. Okay, people might make it look as it's magic or it's something a genius can do, but it's quite simple. Okay, let's take another example. You have your ST elevation in your lead 2 and lead 3. Question 3. ST elevation in your lead 2, lead 3. Set. You have so look at this diagram again. Where does lead 2 and lead 3 look at? It looks at the inferior aspect of your heart, right? So you have a inferior MI. There. Let's say you have a new question. You have ST elevation on V2, V3, V4 plus lead 2, lead 3. So break this question down. Lead 2 and lead 3 look at the inferior aspect of your heart. Lead V2, V3, V4 look at the anterior aspect of your heart. So you have a inferior anterior MI or anterior inferior MI. Okay, so anterior inferior MI. So that is how you work out where leads are. You just have to be quick to see your ST elevations. You just have to be able to recognize them very quickly. That is how you get marked with Dr. Singh. You just click the raise your hands button, and then you look at your ST elevations, and then you use this diagram. You can screenshot this diagram or draw it on a piece of paper when you're having class tomorrow, and then you look at this diagram, which leads to your ST elevation. Correlate those leads to the parts of the heart, anterior, lateral, posterior, or inferior, and then join the two words together if you have more than a few leads with ST